All right, good morning, everyone. This is Jason Thompson with CloudCheckr. I appreciate everyone joining today. We're going to wait until about 2 after, just give some more people time to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, it is 2 after, so let's get rolling. Again, my name is Jason Thompson. I'm a customer success manager here at CloudCheckr. Today we're going to be discussing CloudCheckr Alerts for cost, security, and utilization. Alerts are a great way to stay on top of budgets and your spend overall, potential security threats, as well as your resource utilization. So that said, we will jump along. So start first with notifications. So with these alerts, there's multiple ways to be notified when one is triggered. So first is in the app, right, with the results page, but we can also have them emailed out, and these can be emailed out to a number of different email addresses just by separating them with a comma. We do recommend using a distribution list if you can. That way, as staff comes and goes, you're able to easily manipulate a distribution list inside of your own email server instead of coming to each individual alert and updating it. That said, aside from emails, we have a number of integrations like Jira, PagerDuty, ServiceNow, Slack, SNS, and Syslog, where we can send a notification out to those services. On this screenshot we have here, you can see the Configure Integrations button on the right-hand side. That link will take you right to that page where we'll have documentation linked for any of those services. But should you have any issues setting them up, please feel free to reach out to either CloudCheckr support or your technical account manager or account manager. Anyone can get you connected with the right resources to help you set up these integrations. And this will be true across all of the alert types that we're about to cover. So we'll move on to cost alerts. Starting first, we have our budget alerts. So these are used for tracking monthly, daily, and custom date range budgets. And they can be filtered through via tags or using a save filter from the advanced grouping report. Now I'll jump into the app so we can see what that looks like. Okay, so when you come to the alerts page, which just for edification is going to be accessed for cost alerts from the cost section right at top of the alerts. And the manager page, the results are just where CloudCheckr will log the details of any triggered alerts. We'll come to the manager and you'll be able to click New Alert. So the first one we mentioned is going to be the budget alerts, which is just Amazon Web Services cost. And we'll come here, and as we mentioned, we have our notifications bar. But you'll come through here, decide what your budget is for the billing period. So again, we haven't marked down what the billing period is exactly yet, but you'll go through and say, hey, it's a $10,000 for this billing period, and I want to be notified at 100% once you've reached that budget. We can send that notification out every day, every 2 days, 5 days, whatever you'd like to put in here, or you can hit the checkbox to gray out the option for sending every X number of days and just send it only once. But say you want to be notified as you approach this budget, we can add in multiple thresholds here to track all the way, 90, 70. I'm just going to use some of the examples I have here, but this way you can track as you approach a budget so you are on top of it and aware as you go through the month or whatever your budget cycle might be. The next section will determine whether it's based off just the AWS monthly bill, a daily budget, or a budget cycle that you determine. So we could say that this one is from the 1st of September through the end of September, or I guess probably 14th would make more sense for a short cycle. So whichever one of these you pick, that'll be the budget period. And then you can filter by a number of options. So we can use no filter, so it'll just be the overall cost of the account. Or we can filter by tags here. So you can select your tags, and you can choose to have it be including the cost of that tag or to exclude those costs. So if there's a specific tag that you don't want to be a part of the budget, you can have the option to exclude it. We can also use a saved filter from the advanced grouping report, which will just come down here. So just to address advanced filtering, this is for some of our legacy users that are still based off a DVR using our old UI. Anyone in CMX will be using the advanced grouping report. They are structurally the same, just slightly different where they're pulling the cost data from. So the cost and usage report is where we'll be using the advanced grouping. But then you'll come through and you'll be able to select any of the filters that you have created. And then lastly, because we're in a master payer account, we have an option to decide what account this budget is going to apply to. So we can see all the accounts that are underneath this payer. But if you're in just a payee, you would only have an option for the payee that you're in. And then we can choose our cost type, right? Unblended, blended, and list. And this exact same alert is also available in Azure as well. It is configured the same way. Just obviously, instead of saying monthly AWS bill, it'll say Azure, and it'll be subscriptions instead of accounts. Stop sharing now. Okay, and next, we will move to cost spike alerts. So this is an alert for identifying an increase or a spike in AWS cost over a period of time. This, again, is also available in Azure, and it is configured the same way. And we can monitor the cost by account, service, or by tag. So let's take a look at that. Okay, I'll switch over to web services cost by percent. And here's where you'll come in and say, so when the cost spikes by X number of days, we'll use 2 for our example here, by either an amount per day or percent average. Let's say 15% because I have it there in my autofill, and we'll select go by percent. Compared to the average cost of the previous X number of days, right? You could do 7, 30, you can really use whatever comparison you want. I'll use 2 here for the simplicity's sake. So right now, this is now configured to when the cost spikes for 2 days by 15% average compared to the cost of the previous 2 days. That will trigger this to send out an alert. We can also have it set by a minimum cost change. So if, for example, if you're going by account and we're in the master payer, we'll be looking at all of your accounts. Say one of your accounts is only $100 a month in spend, right? It's brand new, it's small. So a 15% increase, up to 115 may not be a big deal. So maybe you want to be notified once there's a $500 increase or $200, whatever would make sense for the account. We have that option, so we'll wait until that threshold is crossed before we send out an alert. And again, we can set up multiple thresholds here, so we can do 20%, 30%, and so on. And we can change up the number of days as well. Then we'll decide how we're monitoring, right? So if it's going to be by account, or by service. So we'll look at any one service and say, hey, your EC2 spend has increased by 15% compared to the last 2 days. We'll send out a notification. Or we can use a specific tag. And again, we can just pick from our tag list. And now if anything in the cost prod tag in this example crosses over this threshold, CloudCheckr will send out the alert. And again, we have our cost type option as well, unblended, blended, and list. If I didn't go clear over that last time, so unblended is your raw cost from AWS. Blended at the end of the month will be equal to unblended, but during the month it'll leave off certain credits. So it may be a little bit different from what you're expecting. And list cost is if you've done any sort of manipulation within CloudCheckr, whether that's withholding credits or adding in a custom billing charge or credit. And that is the cost spike alert. So Andrew asked if this recording, our presentation will be recorded. It will be recorded and sent out to every registrant, as well as available on our Success Center. And that is success.cloudcheckr.com. Okay, so next we'll move to contract tracking alerts. Now this is an alert that we generally see used by our government clients. This allows you to be notified when your costs exceed or below a certain threshold, and especially useful if you want to ensure you have used all of a committed budget by a certain date in order to avoid wasted funds or penalties for not spending the contract specified amount. So, and the setup for that, we can jump to next. And now this is specific to AWS. First, again, we have our notification option as always, and then we'll set our budget for the billing period. So we'll go with 50,000 just as a nice round number. And so the first will be to alert you if you've exceeded threshold. So this is very similar to our budget alert, right? You'll say 100% of my budget or 90, building up to however you need it, to send every day or whatever number of days you'd like to be notified, or you can have it be sent only once. And you can pick your start date for this contract length. So it defaults to the next 2 weeks or week, but we can alter this to whatever we need to, right? If this is going to run from September 1st through the end of November, we can select that date range. Next is a notification if you are under certain thresholds. So if we are running with our previous example of going to the 30th, if we want to say by the end of September, if we haven't reached at least 50% of the budget, we'd want to be notified on that and let us know that we maybe need to do a bit more to increase the amount of spend going through. And again, we have the option to add in multiple thresholds here and adjusting the date range. So again, if you're 70% within, or not within 70% within 2 weeks of the end of your budget cycle, you'd want a notification. Then similar to before, we can decide what this budget cycle is, whether it just matches up with the bill, daily budget, or you pick your budget cycle. And again, same as we saw in the first option, we can filter by tags or use a save filter from the advanced grouping report. And because we're in a payer, we can see all the accounts that are underneath that payer, and you can select whichever ones apply. And you can also select your cost type. So next, after contract tracking alerts, we have a very simple one. This is for new tag value alerts. This alert is just to be notified if any new tag values show up for a specified tag key. This will just help you keep aware of newly created resources that don't follow your existing tagging strategy. So as we know, cost reporting can often be really strongly supported by tags and really being valuable. So you want to make sure that they are accurate and things are tagged appropriately. So let's take a look at that. The setup is very simple, so this will only take a moment. We'll switch to new tag values, and it's straightforward as deciding where the notification is going to go and then entering in the tag key. So right, if it's request IT for this example that was in my autofill, any new value that isn't already existing that comes in under this tag key will be trigger an alert to send out. And then with that, you just hit create alert and you're all set. So that wraps up cost alerts. Next, we'll jump to security. I didn't mention this at the beginning, but if there are any questions, feel free to just ask them at any time. I'll either address them as I see them or we'll address them at the end of the presentation. All right, so now through security alerts, we have two main branches of security alerts, and that's CloudTrail-based alerts and resource-based alerts. So the CloudTrail alerts are going to require you to be logging CloudTrails in AWS and have CloudCheckr ingesting that. If that is something you're not doing and you want to take advantage of, simply reach out to your contact at CloudCheckr, be it support, your account manager, partner development manager, or technical account manager. and we can get you connected with the resources to get CloudTrail ingested into CloudCheckr. So one of the first things that you get with using a CloudTrail alert is the ability to incorporate Lambda functions. Now this is new. This comes in under the, new to this particular talking point, new to the notification section. So we have an option to have a Lambda function ARN be entered into CloudCheckr to be able to tell AWS to take action, take a specific action. That can be whatever you want. It's just a Lambda function consisting of code with associated dependencies. So you would code in your Lambda function in AWS, collect the ARN, enter that into CloudCheckr, and then CloudCheckr will need to have the Lambda invoke function permission to be added into the policy for CloudCheckr. Once that's done, then CloudCheckr can send the a signal to the Lambda function in order for it to take an action, and that can be really whatever you want it to be. And so next we have CloudTrail alerts. So we have built-in alerts, and you can create your own custom alerts. So the built-in alerts are generally tied to our compliance framework, specifically the CIS benchmark. You'll also see under best practice checks, the log metric filter and alert do not exist. That's their default state. These are the alerts that it's referring to. So CloudTrail needs to, again, be enabled and ingested into CloudCheckr, and then you can turn these alerts on and be able to have CloudCheckr notify you based on these specific parameters. So I'll jump to the next slide as well before we jump into CloudTrail alerts. So these are the built-in alerts. Slide there. So there's the custom alerts. So these can be customized to fit your needs, or you can also select specified events or select a group of events that you'd like to be notified on. And advanced options can give you some additional customization around the alert. So now let's jump into the app and see what that looks like. Security right here. Okay, so here's our security alerts. New is the option to set a risk level for them, as well as put in a custom description. That is optional for both of them. All that is required is a name. And you'll pick your notifications. Again, there's the Lambda function, and all of the other existing options are here as well. And we have our filters. So you have an option to just select from this list, or you can get specific. You can go down to say what region, what specific service, and what event you're looking for. You also can do this by user as well. So we haven't loaded our users in because we have a fair amount here internally, but your organization may have a much more manageable amount, right? So you can load in the users and be able to select what users you want to be notified on if they perform any of these events. So again, you can use these binocular function to select whatever you need. Vice versa, if you want to be notified on everything but say Amazon Athena, for whatever reason, you may do that and hit OK, and then you can say service not in the selection to switch out to pick everything else. So you would exclude Amazon Athena. So you have some options there for how you select services or events you want to follow. And then under advanced options, so we have some different filters, right? We can search by your response type, whether it was a success, error, unauthorized access. So if you want to be following unauthorized access for certain events, you can. We can also track this by specific resource IDs. And then for threshold to fire, that's how many times you want to see this event before you're notified within a certain time frame. So if we see 50 attempts within 2 minutes, maybe you want to be notified then. Obviously, parameters, whatever makes sense for you. Then we can pick different request parameters and response elements for the filter. You can also have the option to whitelist certain parameters and elements. Then moving on, we can select IP address filters. So you can say you want to search between a certain IP range. You can enter that in. You can also use this to whitelist certain ranges. So if you put in that range and then select the IP address not in this range, it'll whitelist that range. We also have an option to not alert for events from Amazon IP addresses. Lastly, we have a miscellaneous option. So this will not save the alert in the alert results page. It will just send the notification. That's, if you don't want to, if you have an alert set up that's going to be triggered often as, an intentional way to, say, trigger a Lambda function to happen, and you don't want to necessarily have the alert results page be bogged down with that, you can select this checkbox and it will only send out the notification. And that is CloudTrail alerts. And also jump back to the built-in alerts. You can turn them on or off simply just by moving the slider over on the right-hand side. And you can open up the event, or sorry, the alert. You can set your notifications for that alert. And you can also copy the alert over to the custom alert so you can tweak it to fit your exact need. And that is CloudTrail alerts. All right, and then so next we have resource alerts. So the first one being security group changes. This one is very straightforward. You simply select security group changes, and the only thing you need to do is decide where the notifications are going to go. So this will alert you when changes are made to a security group. I won't jump to the app for that one just because it is straightforward. There's actually no configuration to be done. And new publicly accessible resources is similar. All right, it's very straightforward setup. You decide where your notification is going to go. And then you can decide what resource you want to be alerted on. You can have it as it is defaulted to select all of the resources, or you can pick out specifically, say you want just S3 buckets on this alert and you want to do EC2 separately. I will add that if you do select all, when the alert is triggered, it will tell you what resource, what specific resource has triggered the alert. So it won't leave you up in the air. Just say, hey, something is public. It will tell you specifically what. All right. Next one is resource changes via AWS config. So we have an option to send an alert when when a change is made from AWS config. Now that can be all security related changes, resources deleted, or security group modified. And it can be filtered to further fine tune it by availability zone, resource type, and change type. We can also track by specific resource IDs or by tags. This does require CloudCheckr to be subscribed to the SNS topic associated with AWS config, and the endpoint URL for that is right in the alert. So I'll just show you a live example of that. Here, and resource changes via AWS config. There we go. So again, notification options as always, and then your filtering options. You can choose your availability zone, resource type, change type, resource ID, which tags you'd like to use, and then finally the bit about subscribing to the SNS topic. The URL is right here. You can just highlight that, copy it over, and put it into the SNS topic. And simply because I didn't address it before, the security alerts are in the security section under alerts, and then you just choose between CloudTrail and resources. All right. Stop sharing and go back to the slides. So next we have utilization alerts. Now these ones I'm just going to jump right into the app for because they all have pretty basic setup here. Now utilization alerts do require the inventory policies to be in the CloudCheckr policy, so we need to make sure we have those CloudFormation stacks deployed or the template deployed so we can have that policy for inventory and utilization collection. So let's jump back into the application. And here we go. And similar to before, utilization alerts are going to be under resources. And then you'll scroll down to the bottom and select utilization alerts. So again, we have our manager and results page. We're in the manager. So click new alert. So we'll just go down the list. First being direct connect. This is a very straightforward one. You'll just put in your where you want your notification to go, and we'll alert whenever when a direct connection is with downstate is found, and we check every 5 minutes for that. Next is the next two are related to EC2. Now you can go into the EC2 utilization or EC2 inventory reports to get what the total number of running instances you have are. So if it falls above or goes above or falls below that threshold, we'll send out a notification. So if you're running 50 instances and you want to know if you go down to less than 45, you'd simply leave that as less than and 45. Vice versa, if you want to know if it's exceeded, if people are creating a bunch and you're going up to 55, you just simply enter in 55 and switch that to greater than. We can also filter this by tag and by instance type. So if you just wanted to follow your T3s, you can. Next is resource utilization. So this will be an alert if the average CPU utilization for the last 24 hours is greater than, say, 75% or 80%, whatever you'd want to have it set on. And again, we can select tag as well, so you can track specific projects, make sure that their utilization is staying below a certain threshold, so they always have the availability. After that, I believe we go to, next is RI utilization. So this is very straightforward. Again, you pick your notification where you want it to go, and this alert will be if any of these instances RIs are not being used, whether that's Elasticache clusters, RDS, or EC2, or all three. Next, we have S3 storage used. So again, you'll use your inventory report, or your summary report, to see how many gigabytes you're currently using. And then you'll set up your threshold, right? Whether it's going to be if it increases over a certain threshold or falls below, you can put in whatever it is. So if it's 200 gigabytes, 2,000 gigabytes, whatever it may need to be, you can then choose whether it goes above or below that to be notified. Again, as always, our notifications up bar. Next is S3 total objects. So again, if you go into the inventory summary report, you can see how many total objects you have in your S3 bucket. And again, you can set up a threshold, whether it goes above or below a certain number. So very straightforward setup here, but can allow you to keep track of your resources, make sure that everything that is happening is expected. And that is everything we had on the presentation for today. So we can open it up to any questions that are left, or if you have any additional questions or requests for a new webinar topic, you just reach out to customersuccess@cloudcheckr.com.
We did have a question or two, Jason, if you're interested.
Yes, yes, I see that.
Yeah.
Sorry, so are the alerts live? How frequently CloudCheckr pulls the CloudTrail logs from AWS accounts? So both those are going to be on a 24-hour pull. I believe there might be a little more frequency than that. I can get back to you with the exact frequency for CloudTrail log, but I believe it is every 24 hours. Are there any other questions out there?
Jason, there's one more. Do the alerts in CloudTrail cover VPCs, and is it historical?
So the alerts are only going to be for items moving forward. I do believe VPC is included in that. Let me double check that. But actually, the VPC, that wouldn't be a CloudTrail. I think that'd actually be a security group resource alert. Yeah, I believe that would fall under security group changes, our resource changes via AWS config. And we can pull in historical data for CloudTrail logs, just to be clear here. So we do have a number of reporting tools for CloudTrail, so we can pull in historical data.
All right, well, it looks like we're at time, Jason. Do you want to?
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone again for attending. I appreciate it. Again, if you have any follow-up questions or requests for a new webinar topic, just please reach out to customersuccess@cloudcheckr.com. Thank you again, and have a great day.